Welcome to the Lauren Blackwell channel. So it turns out that we were wrong, a lot of us. I was wrong in thinking that Justin Timberlake may have been disinterested with his work, and that may have been the reason why his performance in the Dublin leg of his tour was so lackluster. He has just come out to say that he has a medical issue, and that was the reason why his performance was the way that it was. So he specifically addressed his performance because a lot of people were complaining, people were making skits, and he did not want that to be people's opinion of his work because he's been on the scene for many years, and some of us were kind of harsh with the criticism, I guess, but it turns out he has a health issue. Now, he did put out a statement which I'm going to read. It is quite a long statement though. I might read all of it or just the parts that I feel are directly relevant to this. But so he put out a statement explaining the reason for his performance. A lot of people are still going in on him and criticizing him, and like doubting that he has a health issue. Lyme disease is quite debilitating because it affects your muscles, it affects your ability to move. If I'm not mistaken, I think some of the symptoms of Lyme disease are joint pain. You have joint pain, you have muscle pain. You may also experience headaches, and some people experience pain in their lungs when they try to speak too loudly. So obviously that will make singing difficult. So especially with the muscle pain, it's like it makes dancing difficult. So with these symptoms, I can understand why performing will be difficult for him, even if he's able to make some regular movements. Before I read his statement, I just want to say that I was surprised that he put out a statement. Honestly, I didn't think that this whole thing was serious enough for him to address. I didn't think he was going to address it. But I guess since a lot of people were clowning him, he did not want this to be people's memory of his latest tour. Because recently there's been a lot of clowning of the OGs in the music industry that's been going on lately. First, they were trying to retire J-Lo. They were clowning her when she decided to go on tour. And then when we see Mary J. Blige performing, it is a lot of criticism with her performance. And then there was Madonna, and then a lot of other artists were clowned recently when they were on stage trying to perform, and maybe he just did not want that kind of negativity surrounding his performance, especially for someone who's been such a good performer for many decades. You wouldn't want this to be the impression you leave with your fans, especially if you plan to continue to perform well into the future. I don't think he's thinking about retiring anytime soon. So if he wants to sell more tickets later on, or to have another tour at some point, or release more music, and he wants to keep people interested instead of dismissing him as an old washed up performer, he had to address this issue and set it right. So maybe that's why he's addressing it, but I don't know. Anyways, this is what he said. So I'm just gonna read part of his statement that is directly relevant here. He said, "As many of you know, I'm a pretty private person, but as I'm reflecting on the tour and festival tour, I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on with me. Among other things, I've been battling some health issues and was diagnosed with Lyme disease, which I don't say so you feel bad for me. but to shed some light on what I've been up against behind the scenes. If you've experienced this disease or know someone who has, then you're aware. Living with this can be relentlessly debilitating, both mentally and physically. When I first got the diagnosis, I was shocked for sure, but at least I could understand why I would be on stage and in a massive amount of nerve pain or just feeling crazy fatigue or sickness. I was faced with a personal decision: stop touring or keep going and figure it out. I decided the joy that performing brings me far outweighs the fleeting stress my body was feeling. I'm so glad I kept going. Not only did I prove my mental tenacity to myself, but I now have so many special moments with all of you that I will never forget. I was reluctant to talk about this because I was always raised to keep something like this to yourself, but I am trying to be more transparent about my struggles so that they aren't misinterpreted. So that was the statement by Justin Timberlake, and so he did explain that he thought about canceling, because I thought the same thing when I found out that he was not feeling well, but he was well into his tour already. I don't know when the diagnosis came. I don't know if he received the diagnosis before he started touring or at some point during his tour. It does sound like he received the diagnosis before he started touring, but he decided to go on tour anyway, and this is the end result of it. It is work that is lackluster. But I think that if he felt that ill, he should have taken time off. I mean, his health is important. And instead of trying to push through his performance and feeling this horribly, then he could just postpone his tour. From what I've heard, a lot of people that experience Lyme disease are fine after about 6 weeks. So perhaps he could have postponed the tour and taken care of himself. This was his explanation. I am choosing to believe that he was really sick during his tour, regardless of what other people are saying, because people are saying that he's making an excuse and that Lyme disease have become a celebrity disease and a term that they use whenever they feel exhaustion. And for some reason, only celebrities experience this, but I do not agree. Regular people experience Lyme disease. You can contract it from being bitten by a tick. Perhaps it's more common in certain parts of the country, and a lot of celebs tend to live in certain parts, and so they experience it a lot more frequently. I don't know. All I know is he says he's sick. I believe he wasn't feeling well, and that is why he performed the way that he did. And we'll leave it at that. So anyway, this is all I have on Justin Timberlake. I hope he gets well soon, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.